The Green New Deal is blowing up right before our very eyes. So I have seen so many articles coming out over the past few weeks about several of the nations and several of the world's biggest auto manufacturers such as Ford, Toyota, and Honda slashing planned production of EVs for the next year, and they're slashing the amount of sales that they forecast of EV vehicles, which are of course electric vehicles that run strictly off of the batteries, but they are going to have an increase in hybrid vehicles sold. This is actually a good thing because the market is kind of working itself out. I don't believe that the government should be forcing people into electric vehicles. And I don't have a problem with EV technology. I think electric vehicles are pretty cool, some of them, but we're just not ready yet for large scale EV production across the globe, especially here in America. And they're very, very expensive. And I have an article that Ford Motor Company sent out, and it's very, very insightful as to what's happening. So they put this one out that says Ford Motor will cut planned production of its all-electric F-150 Lightning pickup roughly in half next year. And they're going to go from 3,200 to 1,600 per week. And they are either going to cancel or postpone 12 billion in upcoming EV investments. The production cuts for the F-150 Lightning were first detailed in a planning memo to suppliers obtained by Automotive News. The memo cited changing market demand for the cuts according to the publication. And here's another one from Toyota. Toyota raises HEV, lowers EV sales forecasts. Instead, the Japanese automaker will lean into its heritage of HEVs. Miyazaki said, I just butchered that name, it's one of the ways we can avoid the price competition that's intensifying in China. Hybrids account for 28% of Toyota's global sales, and despite EV sales declining, hybrid sales are going to go up. Meanwhile, GM is pushing back on the production of the Equinox, Chevy, and GMC Sierra EV Denali to protect pricing. Honda is also scrapping plans to build affordable EVs alongside GM. So that's just where we're at right now. It's a lot of people who are so crazy about the climate change and, oh my God, we got to save the earth. And I do agree that we need to protect the earth. I do agree we need to, be better stewards of the planet. And America's doing a good job. We're actually no longer the world's largest producer of CO2 and emissions. It's actually China. But the charging infrastructure is not there. The pricing is too high. And we're not even going to get on what's going on over there in Africa. Those young boys and young girls, mostly young men, are dying. They're getting hurt. They're getting injured. They're losing limbs. They get paid little to nothing to risk their lives every day in those cobalt mines. But we don't hear the left, raising Cain about that. They only want to scream about climate change and push their agenda and be good little soldiers for the agenda. At the end of the day, the electric vehicle market, it's very volatile. Fossil fuels are still going to be the way to go for the foreseeable future. I would say we're at least 20 to 30 years out before we even get halfway to having a decent EV economy in America and many of the other industrialized nations. Fossil fuels are very reliable. They're abundant for now. And I believe that as time moves forward and we see more innovation and more research and development, I do believe that we'll see a more market-based transition versus a government mandated transition. It's always better for the market to decide and for it to make sense economically versus a government mandate. The government always screws things up when it gets too heavy-handed when it comes to how we make these decisions for something important as mobility. And I found it to be very, very interesting that a lot of the manufacturers are going to ramp up hybrid production. As we all know, hybrids have been around for a long time. And the reason why hybrids are so great is because you get the best of both worlds. You get gas-powered vehicles that utilize battery technology so they can switch from, fossil fuel to electric, and they're constantly able to run without having to stop at a charging station because as the car runs, it charges the battery. It's in my opinion, I think hybrids are probably the better solution long term, and maybe we'll have a smaller market share for the EV vehicles, but um, it's going to be a market based situation versus a government mandated situation for things to work out in the long term. Hope y'all like the video. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Peace.